right, everyone, welcome to another episode of The Urban Gardener. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, on this episode, we're going to talk about our tomatoes and our peppers. So we're going to go around, we're going to take a look at the ones that we've got growing here at the home gardens, as well as we're going to do some pruning and top dressing of our tomatoes and hopefully get them some nutrients that they need, because they've been dealing with a lot of heat, and the heat is going to continue. We've been dealing with really mid 90s into the lower 100s for the last month, and we've still got another week or two of this coming up. So I want to really pump them up with some nutrients, get them ready to deal with just a little bit more heat, and that way when the heat subsides, let's get to production. I really want to get some tomatoes producing in the gardens. We've had a few of them. Cherry tomatoes are doing really great. We've got a few other types of tomatoes that are doing okay, but some of them are just really kind of holding back, I think, because of all the real intense heat going on right now. So we're gonna get that taken care of here and take a look at some of the peppers as well. We're gonna get up on the rooftop, check up the peppers on the rooftop, and look around at some of the other ones growing around the garden as well. Okay, so let's get growing. All right, everyone. Here's our wall of tomatoes in our containers. Going down our back alley side here, down the back side of the fence line. Got a couple of San Marzano tomatoes right here. And as you can see right now, they're starting to produce. Starting to get some fruits going here. In fact, I think there's one ripe one hiding in there. We'll have to pull that one off. As I was really hoping with a lot of these plants is to have already had production, to already have been able to harvest a bunch of fruit so far, but that hasn't been the case with most of the plants. The cherry tomatoes, been doing great. Those have been just fine. I do have another variety down the way there that's also doing pretty well, but for the most part, most of these guys are just now starting to put out most of their fruits, and we haven't had a harvest quite yet of our tomatoes. And I believe a lot of that is due to the fact that we've had such intense heat so early on this season, and I didn't get them out quite early enough as I should have in anticipating that heat. So hopefully as the heat subsides, like I said, in the next week or two, we'll really get into some full production as we get in and get into these next few weeks. So let's take a look here too. This is one of our cherry tomato plants doing very well. Same variety here. Now, a lot of you who watch YouTube gardening channels might recognize this variety. I don't think I've actually talked about it yet in any of the previous garden vlogs. I've been kind of saving it for this part of the season. This is the Praxis cherry tomato plant. It was grown by Ray Browning on the Praxis 55712 channel for many years. He did retire this plant and gave away a final batch of seeds, and I was lucky enough to be able to get some of those seeds. I've been growing this plant now for the last 2 seasons. And now that I've started my gardening channel here on The Urban Gardener, what I will be doing is taking these tomatoes I've got from these 2 plus a couple of others in the patio garden area that have been growing as well. And I'll be taking those tomatoes, saving seeds from them, doing a seed harvest episode here coming up in the next several weeks. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a seed giveaway. And what I'll do is I'll try to give away some of these seeds to my viewers here on The Urban Gardener. And give you guys all the chance to be able to grow Ray Browning's Praxis cherry. All right, so that's something to look forward to here coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Now down the way here and right next to those cherry tomatoes, we do have another variety of cherry tomato. This is a black cherry tomato. I do believe I got these black cherry tomato seeds from Christopher Bransdahl at MTN Garden. So doing very well. Those are very tasty tomatoes. I've already taken plenty off of this plant already. I do have another plant on the side alley garden. It's producing plenty. Now this one here, if people remember back to the beginning of doing tomatoes when we were planting them out, we had already had this volunteer that came up out of one of my buckets from the season before, and it's been our mystery tomato. Now, one of the things though, I do believe these tomatoes are kind of on the small end of a normal sized tomato or on the large end of a cherry tomato. So what I believe there is that they're probably a larger type of tomato, just haven't been able to produce the size that they would grow into because of the intense heat we've been having. So we'll have to just kind of keep an eye on that and see how that turns out with these. I mean, see if they do start to size up a bit more as we get into a cooler part of the year. Okay, and right next to it, we have a black Brandywine tomato that I got from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, and it's starting to produce some fruits here. We're starting to get some good sized ones too coming on down here. Now, with all the other ones, they are starting to put off some fruits, but I'd have expected to have already harvested several tomatoes off of this plant by now. So, as with, I have one with the other black cherry tomato over on the side alleyway, and those ones are already producing some tomatoes that we can take off of the plant. I'll show that to you here in a minute or so. But didn't get a cage on this one, so it's really growing scraggly and all over the place, but it should do just fine. Coming up. All right, and then this one here, the Costaludo Fiorentino, another seed I got from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. First I'll talk about, we're gonna prune these plants up and get a lot of this stuff off of the plants and bring it up to the lowest tomatoes on the plant. We'll get in and top dress this out with some more soil and a fertilizer mix that we'll put together here in a minute, and then we'll kind of fill up these buckets with some more soil and fertilizer mix, water them down and get them ready for the next couple of weeks coming up with all the heat. But as you can see in here, this one is already starting to produce plenty of tomatoes. I've already taken several off of there, but they're a very unique looking tomato. Very ripply, got large ripples coming around the sides, and they also like to twist, turn, crunch together. Look at that one. That's just one tomato. Just one tomato all turned and twisted around itself. There are two smaller ones back here, but that's one just kind of twisted around like that. So yeah, plenty of tomatoes coming off of this one here. Plenty more to come. So this plant seems to be doing pretty well. Doesn't seem to mind the heat at all. Next to it is one I think is having just a little more trouble. Plant's putting off some branches and everything like that, but I'm just now starting to get some little fruits starting to form. There's one back here. This is a pineapple tomato, which is a seed that comes from Territorial Seed, but was given to me by a friend who's grown this out for the last several seasons himself. So like I said, same case with the rest of them here. Heat's holding off production, I believe, so hopefully as we add some of this top dressing fertilizer, we'll give them some really good nutrients, help them push forward for the next couple of months, really get some production. And this one here is a, which one was this one? This one was the Tappy's Heritage. That's right, Tappy's Heritage, which is another seed I got from Baker Creek. It's put off a couple of tomatoes already. I did get one or two that came off already. Kind of smaller, but as I can start seeing with some of these, they are sizing up a bit more. So I really have some hope to see some really good production off of this tomato plant. All right, and then the last one in the line here is a yellow brandywine type of tomato. Should get very large. I've taken some tomatoes the size of my hand off of plants in the last previous seasons that have grown of this. One of them right now already. Not too big, but starting to yellow out. But same thing as with most of the larger tomatoes. Production's not quite hitting yet, but let's get them pruned up. Let's add some of that top dressing to them, get them ready to go. All right, so what we got set up here is I've got some fish bone meal here, and we're going to add with a regular organic dry tomato-based fertilizer. Okay, there are several different varieties of that. Just get a tomato-based one that's got some extra calcium and all that put in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add about a half a cup and a half a cup of each of these into this bucket of some soil. Okay, and we're going to mix that all up to create a top dressing that we're going to fill in on each one of those buckets. Okay, so like I said, we're going to put about a half a cup for each of the plants, so that'll be 10 plants. So we're looking at about 5 cups of that and 5 cups of that into there. That'll create a nice top dressing for us and give us some really great nutrients. Help us get through these next weeks. Now what we'll do is we'll go prune those tomato plants and put this into the base of each one of them. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get in here and we're going to cut back a lot of this leaf growth up the plant until we get to our most lowest fruit. Just everything below that lowest fruit. We'll get in there, top that off. Okay, so we'll start with this one and work our way down, get this finished up. Alright, so everything's pruned back. We put on some of our top dressing. All we got to do is water this in a little bit later and it's all set to go. So now we're going to go finish the rest of these off, and I'll catch back up with you in a minute and we'll go over all of those. Well, we've got all of our tomato plants pruned, top dressed, and watered in. Let's take one moment, real quick, check out what we finally finished up. And just working our way down back to the very end here, we'll just kind of take a quick look and see what we've finished up with, okay? So like I said, basically, we've pruned everything down below. A little bit around everything that was kind of blighted out, yellowed out, dried up. Got that out of the way, which clears up and kind of makes sure that we're not gaining any moisture or anything inside the base of the plant. Help prevent any more disease or anything that might try to pop up. We did water in this top dressing here, which will leach in a bunch of nutrients and everything that we need down into those roots. And with all the holes and everything that we have down at the base of the container, all of those nutrients then too will also leach further into the ground, as that tap root down in there will also be able to continue to feed as those nutrients continue to leach down. Okay, so and we basically just got that done all the way down the line. Except for when we got to these Praxis cherry too, actually real quick. Very strong plant, still producing very low, but I did my best to clear out the base inside of there for the same idea. Let's keep moisture as low as we can in there, let it give it the chance to be able to dry out, and hopefully keep some more disease and whatnot from continuing to grow on the plant. All right. Now, one quick thing before we move on. Check this out. This big pumpkin's growing back here. Now, there are several different pumpkins we know of. I've got a new one here that grew since the last time we've done a video on the pumpkins. We've got the one that's actually got to come off now. There's another one right over here. And a small one trying to pop up there. Now I knew about each one of those, but while I was doing all of this work on the tomato plants, lo and behold, I've had this big one growing back here the whole time and didn't even know about it. Alright, and just a real quick look here. This is in the outside alleyway here next to the house. And what we have here is our black cherry tomatoes growing like crazy. I'm gonna be harvesting a bunch of these off of here as well. And mixed up in here, because it's, get down here, I'll show you real quick. As we've seen in the earlier episodes before it got all overgrown, it's 2 buckets right here. Cherry tomato coming out of the back one, black brandywine coming out of the front one. Brandywine's mixed up in there, and a couple of developing fruits. But down here below, we do got some of these can start taking off. Yeah, there's one there. Another one right down here. Start being able to harvest these off here real soon. And around the other side here, inside of the fence, we do have, as I was talking about before, more of the Praxis cherry tomatoes growing. A few different plants growing here. Lots and lots of fruits growing on these things. Lots more to come. Another one down here. So I'm going to pull off. So yeah, we should have plenty of Praxis cherry tomato seeds to be given away this year. Really looking forward to that. All right, everyone. It's time to climb up onto this rooftop and check out how those peppers are doing. It's been a little while. All right, everyone, so we're up on the rooftop now. As you can tell right behind me, we've got all of our peppers that we've been growing up here. Man, it's a lot brighter than I thought. I should have wore some glasses. Whew, all right, man, that's better. Really, really bright, man. I can barely even see there. Even though, right now, I also have to point out that in the valley where I live here in Southern Oregon, we're dealing with a lot of wildfires around the area, and the valley kind of sucks in all that smoke. So I'm just going to take a look around. I want to show you real quick here. On these tree lines, and outside of these tree lines, we can normally see hills going all the way around the valley. Hills. Even back there's a nice big old kind of mountain hill right there as well. All through. And I don't know how well this is showing up on video or not, but you can tell the grain and everything kind of there. This is all smoke. It's just laying on top of our valley right now. It's creating kind of a crazy cover. All right, just real quick. That's directly at the sun. The smoke is so thick down here in the valley right now that you can point the camera directly at the sun. The sun even has a pretty good filter with all the smoke right now too. All right, well, buddy, let's get on to these peppers though real quick. We're just gonna kind of work our way back. Right here we got an Italian orange, sweet pepper from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, putting off a lot of pods now. The earlier ones were really small, really even kind of tough skin too, and I think that, like I said, I think that a lot of that has to do with the heat and everything. So a lot of these newer pods though are looking really, really nice, so something really looking forward to. This is a Dos des Landes pepper. One thing I've been noticing about this one growing up here though, similar situation, the pods are just a little bit smaller, and as they're maturing they're a little more smokier in color than the really bright red like the other ones I'll show you down on the patio. Right next to it we've got another kind of strange one right here, as we'll see how the new pods start coming out and turning out. But all the ones down below, this is a Cuban L, and these should be nice long peppers. So let's hope that as it starts to cool down it'll start producing more peppers like it should be. Better example would be right here. This is more of what a Cuban L will look like, except for grow maybe, I'd say maybe an inch or two longer we should be getting out of those too. There's some sun scorch on that as well. But still, these ones are really actually not that bad. I had a couple of them yesterday, and they were actually pretty decent. This one's looking really nice too. Okay. Right next to this one here, I do believe we have our, let me double check again here. Yes, this was the Ahi Rainforest. Just putting out a ton of peppers, tons of pods. We're really gonna have to pull a lot of these off. We've got some ripening ones right down in here. So this is really starting to look nice here. We're getting some production. Next one here is the, I believe this one was the Berry Amarillo. Berry Amarillo, and one looking right here. So as far as these peppers go, I am not too sure exactly on size, but as the other ones are showing me, I'm probably just going to assume that a lot of these early ripening peppers right now are probably smaller than they should be, like I said, because of the situation we have here on the roof and the extreme heat. Sweet peppers are putting out some really nice bells now. Just a lot of them too. They're getting really crowded, so we'll have to thin that out a bit. And what's really getting crowded is the production. We're going to have to really tear off a lot of these pods real quick. But our Poblano's doing really well. Doing really, really well. Look at that. Over here we got another bell. Same situation. Just getting a lot of pods forming on a pretty small bush. So it's really wanting to produce. We're gonna have to probably take a little bit of weight off of it. Let's see, let's just come down this way. This one here is our Sugar Rush Peach. Another variety of this we have growing down on the patio as well. It looks like we got some ripening pods in there. And right next to it we've got a jalapeno. And just like a jalapeno should, look at all those jalapenos. Massively producing plant. We're gonna have to take some weight off of it as well. Okay, and then right next to it, we've got this one here, I believe is the Devil's Brain one. Yeah. And I know if we look, oh, there we go. There's a nice pod right there. There we go. And right over here, several more pods. So this one's really starting to produce now. I can see several more in the back there. Looks like one even's trying to ripen up. Right next to it, we've got this one they call a Star of Turkey. Should have a nice star shape kind of look to it as it grows. It's starting to produce some pods. You can see several inside the plant there already. This was one of our star growing starts. It was just fit its name. It was one of the best looking starts and grew stronger than most all of our plants. Which is really odd that right next to it, behind it here, we'll just kind of look at this one real quick. This was our 7-pot Jonah. We'll come around the other side and we'll take a look at it again, but I'm just going to point out, finally got, look at that. That is a scary looking pod. This is my first time being able to grow super hots myself and see some of these pods and everything, and seeing them right up close. Those are really wicked, really, really wicked looking. Okay, so we'll come back over here. And what we have is a Santa Fe Grande. Just starting to produce like mad, wild. We're gonna have to get in there and really harvest some of those up, take off some of the weight there. Next to it, we have a Cayenne. Just going crazy too. We went from like no production here in the last couple of weeks to just plants going crazy. Seems we have another jalapeno here, filling up. And down on the end, however, it's one of our ones that's taken a little bit of time getting going, but is starting to put out a couple of pods. This will be our chocolate habanero. I'm really excited about seeing how those ones do. And next to it comes another one of our funky looking plants, because this is supposed to be an orange habanero. Now, I grew this orange habanero last year, and my pods never looked like this. So I don't know if I got the seed mixed up or something happened, but I mean, they're coming out orange looking, red. Well, they're going more to a red as they get ripe and more ripe, but I just really not buying the fact that this is an orange habanero. And then right next to it, we got an Apache. This thing is just pushing up just hundreds of pods. I've just all throughout inside this plant. I mean, it is so loaded. We're just gonna take those up. I'm gonna dry a lot of those peppers out. And next to it, we've got another one of my favorite sweet pepper, Dos Landes, being right up front here where it's facing the sun mostly first. I'm getting a lot of smaller pods. So like I said, hopefully as the temperatures start to go down, this plant will start to produce more of its normal size pods. And next to it here, we've got a orange Scotch bonnet. Let me see, I know I gotta really look at this. That one looks really nice there. I'm gonna have to take off some peppers off of this one here. A couple of This one's down in there as well. And right next to it here, which one was this? This one was our Carolina Reaper. Okay, another one that's having a hard time producing anything. I don't see any pods yet forming. There are, however, plenty of flowers and new ones ready to start up, so hopefully we'll start seeing some Carolina Reapers. Okay, and next to it here we have our 7-pot Jonah. Now, I think we looked at that pod back in here. I think there are a couple more pods in here starting to form up as well. But altogether, this plant really looking nice. It's about as strong as any of them. But other than the Star Turkey one, which is right there, this one, when it was a start, was completely different. Very, very small. Had a very hard time getting started. But look where it's at now. So that's a good lesson in not giving up on some of your starts and some of your plants sometimes, because sometimes they'll surprise you later on. Really, really will. Okay, and in here we've got, this is our peach Congo. Look at that. Starting to put out pods. I see plenty of them right down in here. So you should start ripening up real soon. Look at that one. Really nice. Very nice. Going right up front here. Got a little tiny one that's ripening up right now. Alright, next to this here, we've got our, which one was this? Oh, the El Oro de Ecuador. This one's one of the ones I've got from Chris Bransdahl up in Norway. We've got some pods coming out here. Starting to put out pods around. Doing really, really well. Right around here, we've got our Ahi pineapple. The last one in our rooftop garden collection here. And it's starting to put off pods. I can see just crazy amount of pods coming off the top right here. Definitely, definitely. Well, nice size one there. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how this one's gonna turn out. All right, that pretty much does it right now for our rooftop pepper collection. Everything seems to be going pretty well right now. It's time to get on to some real production. Alright, and as we come down off of the roof real quick, we do have peppers growing down in the patio area. Take a look at this guy. Look at those beauties. These are my Dos Deslandes. It's a sweet pepper. They do look very red. I've shown these to a couple of people who basically were completely afraid to even touch them until I told them that they were actually some of the sweetest peppers you'll ever eat. And they are. They're delicious. I'm about to eat 2 or 3 of these right now. And then right next to it, we've got our poblanos. Poblano's growing very well. Very productive plant down here. Next to it, we've got a bell pepper. Just putting off some nice bells. Starting to ripen up. Over here we have, same as up on the rooftop, our other Carolina Reaper. This one here, however, I've added some of that fish bone meal and different nutrients to it, trying to get it to push up some production, but as you can tell, there's not one flower on this, not one pod forming or anything. My Reapers are having the hardest time this year. Right next to it though, another super hot called the Devil's Brain. This one is putting off more and more new pods and everything. Down below, we'll take a look. We have, I think it's right over here actually. We have one ripening up right there. Looks intimidating. We're gonna have to see if we can find somebody to give that sucker a shot. All right, and over here real quick, another Italian orange. Starting to ripen up really nice there. An Italian orange. So another sweet type of pepper. I believe I got this seed from Baker Creek as well. And right over here, we've got a Sugar Rush peach. And it's putting off a lot of pods. They're ripening up well. I have to take some off of this plant now, encourage some more production. And also right around here, the home garden between our carports here, we've also planted out where I'm really surprised, where this is really doing so well, these plants. This is a really shaded area. This is facing the north. South sun is that direction. It's maybe getting a little bit of sun from up in this direction over here for an hour or two during the day, but for the most part, these plants are just really doing well. Right up front, we've got a jalapeno putting out pods there, and in the background, I got two poblanos. They're producing really well as well. Plants are big and strong, leaves look really well. Just really kind of surprised about these plants growing down here and how well they're doing. What are you doing, Bugaboo? What's going on, Kiki? You come to see what's going on in the garden? Yeah? Find a nice shady spot? Oh yeah. What are you doing, Buggy? Alright, so in our above ground raised bed, we have a couple of other peppers, our last two peppers to show today. And this one is a purple beauty. As you can tell, look at that pod there. A nice purple color to it. So hopefully, as it's now not crowded by all the other plants that were in this container, hopefully they'll start to growing a little bit bigger and producing a little bit more for us. And here we've got a sweet chocolate bell as well. Starting to turn that nice chocolate color. A couple of little pods there. Not quite shapely as we would like to see them, or as big as we'd like to see them, but we still got some more growing time to go. So we'll keep an eye on how they're doing. All right, everyone, so thank you very much for joining me today. We did get a nice little tour around and check out some of our tomato plants, and as I said, let's hope for a lot more production coming up here real soon, as a lot of this heat and smoke and everything just kind of gets and moves on from the valley, and we start getting to some really good production temperatures. I'm really looking forward to some great tomatoes, peppers, everything coming up here real soon. Okay, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything at all, hit me up in the comment section below. And please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again on the next episode of The Urban Gardener. Oh boy, hey, let's watch what we're doing there. All right, everyone, time to climb up on. We'll keep giving it a shot again. Vlog. this guy. He don't want to go nowhere. He must know he's a star of a gardening vlog right now. What a camera hug.